Good evening and welcome to Short Story Time Theater with William Baxter. That's me. Tonight's story from my book, Web Tales, is The Unsung War Hero, the Captain Eugene Cornell story. Isaiah Cornell was born in 1801. He had a son named Captain M. Eugene Cornell, who was an unsung war hero of the American Civil War. Eugene Cornell was born on April 11th, 1842. He was not a famous person himself, but he had an uncle who was very famous. His name was Ezra, the brother of Isaiah. Ezra Cornell founded a major university in Ithaca, New York, on a hill overlooking Lake Cayucas. You have probably heard Cornell's University's alma mater song, High Above Cayucas Waters. After Eugene Cornell grew up, he became an officer in the Union Army. In 1862, after the outbreak of the American Civil War, Captain Eugene Cornell served under the command of General McClellan, who at the time headed up the Union forces in the Eastern Campaign, but was always at odds with Honest Abe Lincoln. It was during this time in 1862 that the Union Army was in desperate need of a victory in the East, as the Confederate Army under General Lee had pretty much good stronghold on the Eastern campaign. As desperate as the Union was for a victory, the South was just as desperate to maintain their stronghold in the East, because in the Western campaign, the Union Army under General Ulysses S. Grant was dominating the Confederate Army, and so the two sides met head on at a place in Maryland called Antietam Creek on September 17th, 1862. The North and the South fought each other at very close range. The Battle of Antietam lasted one day, and I have to say it was a massacre on both sides. The Battle of Antietam was the bloodiest battle of the entire Civil War and the bloodiest one day battle in the history of America. A total of 3,650 dead soldiers, blue and gray, littered the countryside surrounding Antietam Creek. At least 17,300 people were wounded at the Battle of Antietam. Although the losses were heavy on both sides, General McClellan and his Union Army had obtained their much needed victory at Antietam Creek. This prompted Abraham Lincoln to write his Emancipation Proclamation, which would free all of the slaves in America. One of the soldiers who died at the Battle of Antietam was Captain Eugene Cornell. There were no confetti brass bands, no medals, just a man who willingly gave his life for his country and for Abe Lincoln's cause, which was to reunite a country which was torn apart by slavery and secession. That is my definition of an unsung hero. An unsung hero is one who willingly lays down his life for his country without expecting anything in return. Whether he lives to tell about it or not, Captain Eugene Cornell did not live to tell about it, but he was indeed an unsung war hero. Captain Cornell had a nephew whose name was George Cornell. George was born in 1854 and was 8 years old when his uncle died at the Battle of Antietam. When George grew up, he had a daughter named Myrtle Cornell, who was born in 1892. Myrtle married a Navy man by the name of Chief Warrant Officer Leroy Edwin Baxter. Grandpa Baxter to me. Myrtle Cornell, who became Myrtle Cornell Baxter, was my grandma. Captain Eugene Cornell was grandma's great uncle and my great 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 uncle. Captain Cornell and I are both part of Uncle Ezra's family tree, which grows on top of a hill high above Cayucas waters. The end. I hope you enjoyed tonight's story, and I'll be back later for another short story time theater with William Baxter. In the meantime, you all have a great evening and a good week, and I'll be back soon. Good night now.